My name is Ethan Parker. I'm 31 years old, and I live in Seattle, Washington. This happened on October 14th, 2023. Even today, whenever I check into a hotel, the first thing I look at is the room number. Because room 417 changed my life forever. That day, I was traveling for a business meeting to a small town about 3 hours from Seattle. It was around 8 p.m. when I checked into an old roadside hotel. At the front desk sat a woman in her 60s. Without even looking at me, she slid a key across the counter and quietly said, "Room 417. If someone knocks on your door at exactly 3 a.m., no matter what happens, don't open it." I laughed. I thought she was joking. I grabbed my bag and headed to the 4th floor. The hallway was completely silent. It felt like I was the only guest staying on that floor. I unlocked room 417. The room looked perfectly normal. A large bed, a television, a bathroom. Everything seemed clean. But the moment I stepped inside, I felt an unnatural chill. I assumed the air conditioner was turned up too high. Around 11 p.m., I finished dinner and tried to sleep. But for some reason, I couldn't. It felt like someone was watching me from somewhere inside the room. I turned on the TV, but after only a few seconds, it switched itself off. I ignored it, thinking it was just an electrical problem. Then, at exactly 3 a.m., 3 loud knocks echoed from the door. My entire body froze. The receptionist's warning suddenly came rushing back into my mind. Don't open the door. Slowly, I walked toward the peephole. I looked outside. The hallway was completely empty. But then, another knock. This time, the sound came from right beside my ear. Before I could react, the bathroom faucet turned on by itself. I spun around. The bathroom light had switched on, and in the mirror, standing directly behind my reflection, was a tall man dressed entirely in black. I immediately turned around. The bathroom was empty. I looked back at the mirror. Now, only my reflection remained. But 4 words slowly appeared across the glass, as if someone invisible was writing them with a finger. Don't open the door. At that exact moment, the hotel room door began to slowly open by itself. I rushed forward, forced it shut, and locked it with all my strength. My heart pounded so loudly, it was the only sound filling the room. Then, the knocking returned. But this time, not from the door. It came from inside the closet. I stood frozen. The closet door slowly creaked open. Inside, only my clothes were hanging. I let out a nervous sigh of relief. Then suddenly, the zipper on my suitcase slowly opened by itself. My cell phone started ringing. The caller ID read only one thing: Room 417. With trembling hands, I answered. For several seconds, all I heard was heavy breathing. Then, a broken whisper. "He's standing behind you." The phone slipped from my hand. Slowly, I turned around. No one was there. But the bed, which had been perfectly smooth only seconds earlier, was slowly sinking, as though someone invisible had just sat down. The room became freezing cold. I could see my own breath. Suddenly, the television turned itself back on. This time, it wasn't showing a channel. It displayed a live CCTV feed. The camera overlooked the hotel's hallway. Outside my room, A tall black figure stood motionless. His face was hidden in darkness. Then, I saw something impossible. On the CCTV, I watched myself open the hotel room door and walk away with him. I stared at the screen in horror. I was still standing inside the room. Then, the image disappeared. Only one sentence remained. You opened the door last time. Last time? I'd never stayed in this hotel before. Just then, the room phone rang. I slowly picked up the receiver. It was the old receptionist. Her voice was shaking. If you want to stay alive, leave the room right now. But whatever happens, don't look back, no matter who calls your name. Part 2. I grabbed my bag, opened the door. The hallway was empty. I began walking quickly toward the elevator. Then, behind me, I heard my mother's voice. "Ethan, sweetheart, please look back." My feet stopped, but I remembered the woman's warning. I kept walking. Then, someone began running behind me, bare footsteps, fast, getting closer every second. I didn't dare turn around. I reached the elevator, pressed the button again, and again, nothing. Then, the hallway lights began shutting off, one by one, starting from the far end. Each light went dark, until only the one above me remained. I looked ahead. At the end of the hallway, the tall man stood there again. This time, I could clearly see his face. His eyes were completely black, and he wore an impossible smile. Ding! The elevator doors opened. I jumped inside, pressed the ground floor button. The doors began closing. Then, a black hand reached between them. The elevator stopped. I slammed the door close button repeatedly. After a few terrifying seconds, the hand vanished. The doors shut. The elevator started moving, but instead of going down, the display changed. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It was going higher. Finally, it stopped. The screen read, "Floor 13." But the hotel only had 4 floors. The doors slowly opened. Outside, everything was covered in darkness. Only one room was visible, room 417. I couldn't believe it. I had already stayed in room 417. Then what was this one? The door slowly opened. Inside, a man sat alone in a chair. As he turned toward me, my blood ran cold. It was me, but his face was covered in blood. He looked directly into my eyes, then whispered, "Run. I made the same mistake. It's already too late." The moment he finished speaking, a horrifying scream echoed throughout the room. Then, something icy touched my shoulder. I slowly turned. There was no one there. I looked back at my double. He smiled, then quietly said, "It touched you. Now it will follow you." Suddenly, violent pounding erupted from every wall in the room. I ran. The instant I stepped outside, the 13th floor disappeared. I was back on the 4th floor, standing in the same silent hallway. This time, the elevator opened immediately. I rushed downstairs, ran to the reception desk. It was empty. The old woman was gone. Only thick dust covered the counter, as if no one had been there for years. I ran outside, waited for sunrise, then stopped at a nearby coffee shop. When I asked the owner about the hotel, his expression changed immediately. He quietly asked, "You stayed there?" I nodded. He swallowed hard, then said, 5 years ago, A man died mysteriously in room 417. After that, the hotel was permanently abandoned. There hasn't been a receptionist there in years. My hands began shaking. But I checked in last night. Without saying another word, he showed me a picture on his phone. It was the same hotel, except it was nothing but a ruined building. Broken windows, collapsed walls, vines covering every entrance, as though nobody had entered it for years. I immediately drove back. Where the glowing hotel had stood the night before, only an abandoned ruin remained. A rusted sign hung above the entrance. Danger. Entry prohibited. I was about to walk inside when my phone suddenly rang. There was no number, only one word. Room 417. With shaking hands, I answered. The same deep voice whispered, "You got out, but I didn't." The call ended. I looked at my phone. A photograph had appeared. It showed me sitting on the bed inside room 417. And standing directly behind me, the tall black man, smiling. That day, I threw that phone away forever. But even now, every year on October 14th, at exactly 3 a.m., my new phone rings. Unknown caller. And on the screen, only one message appears. Room 417.